Alright geezers, Jules here from FGS, and you know what gang? I'm pretty bummed out right now, and no, not just because the price of Warhammer has increased again and my liver apparently doesn't meet black market standards now that I've tried to sell it, but because of today's video topic, that being game overs. Now, while the distinct impact of the humble game over has changed significantly once we actually stopped putting in coins for extra lives, that hasn't stopped developers from hitting you in the gut with a game over screen to highlight your abject failure. And some of them went even further to hit you in the feelings as well, because honestly, some of these game over screens, well, they're bloody brutal. So let's have a rather dour chat. As I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are 8 game over screens that are genuinely heartbreaking. Oh, and you know this is the Deep Cut with Jules Guild, baby, so don't expect to see the games you're already thinking of. Like, come on, man, we're going deep cut, reach behind the sofa, what we've got there, ooh, that's a bit sticky, but also, here's a fresh take. Number 8, Primal. Okay friends, let's kick things off with a game whose front cover is a checklist of cheese. A dark, brooding character with back turned to the camera because they're too bloody cool to face us? Check. Awful edgelord tribal adjacent tattoo that will demand that you forever wear a jumper? Check. Enough grit and image noise that it makes you feel like you're chewing sand with your eyes? Oh my god, yes, that is a check, and I hate it. This is Primal, aka the biggest bang of early 2000s that you're ever likely to get. An action-adventure title which spends more time posturing and trying to look cool than it does attempting to keep you engaged. Audiences and critics shrugged with apathy when Primal landed, and it came and went without much of an impact, despite it having garnered quite a cult following since. However, when it comes to the game overs that you can hit in this title, well, it is a bloody tragic masterclass. You see, all of these fantastical elements that you're seeing now are the result of our hero Jen being in a comatose state and her spirit being trapped in a different realm. Here, she and her ugly little gargoyle pal have to battle the forces of evil to save the day and return Jen to her body. So what do you think happens if she fails? Well, as the game points out in rather painful terms, her mind is trapped in a state of limbo, all while her physical body is kept alive by medical equipment, prolonging her suffering. Woof. That is a rather big and depressing pill to swallow right there. I mean, the only way that things could be worse is if she had to keep listening to this game's soundtrack over and over, which is... Well, let's just put it this way, Rob Zombie fans will like it because it's basically a damn carbon copy of his entire style, with very little of the charm. Enjoy!
I see the demons underneath your skin. I see the teeth in the cracking of your smile. I see the black of your eyes in denial.
Number 7, Death Duel. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear the name Death Duel, I think of 2 things. One, it's what me and my missus call our lovemaking. But also, with a name like this, the contest isn't probably going to be likely a chill game of checkers with light jazz playing in the background. There's gonna be stakes, and pretty deadly ones at that. It's also the name of a pretty wacky game for the Sega Genesis, in which you blast apart different monsters in a first-person shootout using different weapons and explosives that your giant mech is equipped with. It is violent, it is dumb, and as a result, it's a bloody great laugh. That is until you die to the hands/tentacles of one of the deadly duelists. And that's because if there's one thing that Death Duel loves more than duels and death, it's abnormally long walls of text. Which, while normally are used to set the scene or laboriously explain how to play the game, here when you falter in your skills is rolled out to agonizingly explain just how much you suck. It explains in no uncertain terms that your death has doomed your people to a terrible fate and that your corpse and memory will be mocked and derided until the end of time. And also that any from your bloodline will now be ridiculed for your failure. Now I know what you're going to say, that yes, technically your loss really did things up for the people living in your sector, but to hound every relative that you have for being killed by a giant monster, I'll tell you what mate, come on then pal, let's see you hop up inside that giant mech and have a go. Oh, it's not that easy, is it? Yes, I know there's a ton of buttons on the dashboard. It's a 100-foot tall death machine. It doesn't have a stop, start, kill button. I'm getting way too irate for something that is just a hypothetical scenario. I tell you what, some people, right? Well, still, none of this does anything to stem the pain of reading this absolutely harsh and thoroughly mean obituary. Number 6, Ratatouille. Yeah, I bet you weren't expecting to see Ratatouille on this video, were ya? Well, I've got some news for you, my friend. If you ever want to hold uncorrupted memories of this amazing film in your mind, then you should definitely steer clear of the tie-in video game for it, because you know what? The game overs in this game, they are harrowing. Now, while other and much more mature titles might show your character being bludgeoned, stabbed, shot, or just left to bleed out, for some ungodly reason, the devs decided for this game that they would animate multiple horrific deaths for our cute little pal Remy, which change depending on how you meet your maker. For example, if you get caught by humans, you'll be slammed into a jar without any air holes likely to suffocate. If you fall in water, you'll see Remy struggle to get to the surface, and if you lose your last heart by falling, well, you'll just see him plunge into the abyss. Ooh. Yet the most brutal and, in my opinion, absolutely unnecessarily heartbreaking game over is the one you get when you're caught by dogs. As here, you actually see Remy beg for his life as he falls over and his heart starts beating, so much so that you can see him at the point of hyperventilating. Why? Oh God, why did they animate that last part specifically? The sheer terror in his eyes is, without hyperbole, absolutely horrific. And the fact that all of these happen against a black space of nothingness only distills the fear further. I remember when my little brothers were playing this game and I saw that dog death happen in real time, and they just looked at me and I looked at them and I looked at the screen, and I had to immediately just be like, don't worry guys, he's fine. I'm sure that he's okay. The dogs just want to play with him and he's just very, very excited. What the fuck is this? And my dad's just in the corner just there like, I'm an absentee parent at the best of times, mate. It's like the main sections of this game were built by Barney the dinosaur, and these scenes in particular were made by Art the clown. Number 5, Mace the Dark Ages, Ragnar's bad ending. Right, now I won't lie to you friends. I did not go into this N64 fighting game by the name of Mace the Dark Age looking for a lethal dose of depression, but oh boy, did it end up over-delivering in ways that I never ever wanted. For start, this is a fighting game, and I don't know about you, but this genre has always erred on the side of silly for me when it comes to its endings, mainly because outside of the canonical winner, things are usually more light-hearted and often acts as the studio devs just having a bit of fun with their in-game world. I mean, like, you got Steve Fox in the recent Tekken game becoming the swollest man around. Then you got like Zangief from Street Fighter 2, I believe it was, when he's just like having a little dance with Gorbachev. Like, what's going on with that? Silly, you know what I mean? But not in Mace. Oh my God, not in Mace, because this is dark. Here, a large tome begins to open, which I'm now dubbing the saddest book ever written, and we learn the terrible fates of our heroes, the saddest of which has to be for the barbarian Ragnar. After failing to get revenge against Demos for murdering his family, he returns home to find the rest of his village burned to the ground. Yet this is only the preface to his sadness, because here he's then turned into a wolf and then forced to hunt down his remaining loved ones and everyone that he's ever held dear. But wait, there's more! Because he's also completely aware of what he's doing, meaning that every person that he tears apart with his teeth and his fangs is going to be burned into his memory forevermore. Which doesn't sound like much of a laugh, right? And that is putting it bloody lightly. Oof. Number 4, Kang Fu. Right then, my friend, quick poll, who's up for a bit of emotional trauma? What's that? None of you? Obviously, because that would be really, really weird. Why would you want to put anyone through that? But also, tough luck, because we're about to play Kang Fu for the Amiga. Now, I know what you're probably thinking to yourself as you see this colourful and family-friendly footage play out. How in the hell is this game going to qualify for this video? It looks about as heartbreaking and distressing as a warm bubble bath. Well, you're going to regret thinking that, my friend, because this is what waits you if you fail at Kang Fu. You know what they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but here it's just 2 words repeated over and over, and they are bloody hell, because that is genuinely rancid to look at. The decaying corpse of our hero rotting in the desert is a far cry from the over-the-top comical japes that we've just been playing moments before. It's the sort of tonal whiplash that will leave you in a neck brace, and also leave you wondering what the hell the devs over at Kang Fu were smoking. Because that's brutal. Number 3, Pandora's Tower. Okay, let's get things clear from the start. Pandora's Tower kicks all sorts of ass. And I say this with great confidence because not only is this a Devil May Cry-esque spectacle fighter with tons of flashy effects, but it is powered by love. Love, I say, which makes it really, really special. And I do mean that quite literally, because the events of this game showcase our hero venturing forth into dungeons to collect food for his girlfriend who's become afflicted by a terrible curse. And now she must eat the flesh of other monsters to avoid being turned into a horrifying beast. Kind of think Delicious in Dungeon, the game, but with slightly less senshi, which does actually make me quite sad. Still though, great game, but it does come with a truly depressing ending should you fail in your main goal. Now if you let your partner's humanity gauge drop to 0, she'll transform into a rampaging monster and she'll start her quest to destroy the world by eating you whole. We've all been there, right lads? Misogyny aside though, this is far from the ideal ending for your character, especially when you then find out that you're not actually dead and are trapped alive and conscious inside of her, meaning that you have to witness, on some level at least, her destruction of the world and the pain that she inflicts on others, all thanks to your utter failure. Now, I'm no relationship coach, but I do think that this would constitute as grounds for a breakup. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but if my partner decided to kill all of humanity after being turned into a giant monster, I'd be looking to part ways. I mean, we can still be friends, but we clearly want different things in life. Number 2, XCOM UFO Defense. And now we turn to one of my favourite video game franchises, and say it with me, kids, of all time. That's right, it's the gosh dang Legend of Legends, the X-COM series. However, instead of focusing on the rabid amounts of pain and suffering that the newest games love to dole out to their player base, we're going to be heading right back to the start of the series, back when it had a bloomin' dash between the X and the Com. That's right, we're going old dash school. Now, as you might expect from a game that murders your troops out of nowhere and punishes you for not having studied, written a thesis on, and likely having to have programmed the game itself, UFO Defense equally does not let up expressing its contempt for your failure should you hit a game over. Now, if you manage to last long enough for the council to lose complete and utter faith in you, you will see on the PS1 version of the game at least, the world finally bowing down to the alien menace and attempting in vain to sign a peace treaty thanks to a gloriously blocky cutscene. Yet, just as they're about to do so, the door gets kicked in by some mutons, a gun is held to the head of the world leaders, and the trigger is then pulled, splattering blood all over the face of a rather smug-looking sectoid. Now, this scene is so unnecessarily cruel if you think about it, right? Because just picture this, right? The sectoids agreed to the meeting, right? They went through the process of waiting for a surrender to be drawn up by the humans. They met the delegates. They likely had lunch as well, because come on, you would definitely put on a spread for your new alien overlords. They sat down and feigned that they were going to broker peace before then going, lol, JK monkey man, eat the barrel of my plasma pipe. Rude. This is the universe-level equivalent of being punked, and it is a cruel indication that your failure was the last line of defense against a force that is looking to wipe humanity from the face of the Earth. Now, I know that the other versions of the game show what happens after the aliens took over, where they poison the skies, they take all of our water, and they leave humans like all mutated and horrible, but this is just cruel, mate. Cruel and rude. Boo. Boo on you, alien. Imagine if this signal actually goes out into space, right? All distorted, and that's the only bit that comes through. Right, that's it. Well, we're destroying the galaxy all thanks to this Duel's apologies if I have doomed humanity. And number 1, emergency call ambulance. Have you ever been playing Crazy Taxi and thought to yourself, oh boy, I sure do wish this experience could be 10 times more intense and 100% more utterly harrowing? Well, if you have, you utter weirdo, then Emergency Call Ambulance is the game for you, because this shit right here can get real bleak real quick. Now, here you play as emergency responders who have to navigate busy cities in order to get patients to the hospital on time, or else risk them suffering pretty horrific consequences. And to show that this game is not messing around in the slightest, the first patient that you deal with in the entire game is a young lad who is moments away from death. Now, given the information that I've just relayed to you, how do you think that a game over in this scenario is going to play out? Now, if you said the boy rouses at the last second to engage in an epic Beyblade battle while cheery music plays and we all go for ice cream afterwards, then I hate to break it to you, but things go in a slightly different direction. And by that, I mean that the screen flashes red and the words, "I don't want to die" appear for the briefest of moments.
I don't want to die!
Oh, okay then, right, cool. I'm just gonna go sit in a dark room and be very quiet for a while, okay? Yeah, no, cheers, bye. Seriously, what the f***? Honestly, what a deranged choice from the devs here, especially when the levels themselves are full of wacky obstacles and encounters that create this kind of light-hearted affair. Now, to be clear though, the message does pop up if you fail regardless of whoever you're actually trying to save. It always comes up with, "I don't want to die." But still, to have this young lad say this on the first level no less, is shocking, no two ways about it. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game over screens that were utterly, genuinely heartbreaking. I hope that you enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And if you want to chat to me on the social medias, you can go follow me over on Blue Sky, where I'm at RetroJ, but the O is a 0. You can follow my lovely editor Mark over on his social medias as well. But before I go, I want to say one thing. Even though we spoke today about heartbreak and depression that is infiltrating our video games, let's end things on a much more positive note with a big old dose of positivity, a bit of old vitamin J. That's me saying you are a cool guy. That was such a Captain America. Hello, fellow kids, wasn't it? I'll try that again. What I meant to actually say is that I hope you're doing well, and I hope that you're treating yourself with love and respect, because you bloody well deserve that, all right? You deserve the best things in life. And I want you to go out there with love in your heart for yourself and your neighbor as well, and start building some bridges instead of burning them, because trust me, it's a crazy world out there, all right? All right, all right. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.